Welcome to another episode of the Community Farm Alliance podcast. I'm your host for the Black and Berry series. My name is Vaughn Barnes, and I have with me today Keith McKenzie from Nob Hill Farm in Breckenridge County. Keith, tell us a little about the farm.
I tell you, I'm really excited to be able to talk about it. Just right off the bat, we managing over 70 acres, just a little over 70 acres. And it's not flat land, it's rolling land. We love it. And we grow about a tenth of an acre under mixed vegetables. And we also are raising St. Croix sheep. We have a small herd, and we own a couple of horses as well. We manage in about 20 acres of pasture, and some of that we hay on a regular basis. No, it's just a small piece of God's green earth that my wife and I love to pieces. Now, we didn't start off with 71 acres. My wife and I, in 2004, we wanted to reconnect with the land, and we sought out to buy a piece of land. And actually 2004 is when we actually purchased the land. And it took us about 3 years to find this piece of property. And folks was like, man, why Breckenridge County? Well, it's just a long story, but after 2.5, almost 3 years of looking, we found our first tract of land that we just fell in love with, 12 acres. And from there, we took off and started really hewing out that 12 acres to what we have now, where we're managing about 70 acres.
Because you didn't start in Breckenridge County, right?
Actually, I started in Owensboro. I was really my youth and most of my adult life. I was raised in Davis County, Kentucky, and in Davis County, Kentucky, my brothers and sisters and I, we would get up every spring with a shovel and a pitchfork and break the ground. My mother would tell us to get out back and break the ground and then put out some seeds and put a garden in place. For a long time, we have these new terminology. I don't know about new terminology, but when I grew up, I never heard of the term subsistence agriculture. I never heard of the word subsistence living. You use what you have, the resources that you have, and you build and work from that. You don't look at buying outside of the farm, buying outside of your circle. You work from within that. And I never knew that was a genre or a concept that one would hang their head on, because it was just a way of life for us.
That just sounds like pulling yourself up from the bootstraps. That's just,
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, but subsistence agriculture, subsistence living for us, if we wanted it, we pretty much had to grow it. I mean, we growing up very early on, and we didn't have the luxury, to go out and buy a lot of things, and so we had to make do. And I don't want to go too far back into but it was just the way it was. And then if you need a tool or something, or if you needed something, you had to make it. Most of the time, we would try to make it. When I went to school, when growing up, my first suit was hand sewn by my mother, and I wore that suit forever. So, I started my humble beginnings in Owensboro, and then, we fast forward, and I get married, and then my wife and I we purchased 32 acres in McLean County, which is about southwest of Davis County. McLean County, and a little north of Calhoun, Kentucky. A lot of folks who have visited us may be aware of that area. And what we attempted to do at that time, we was growing nursery stock. And
what's that?
nursery stock, junipers, dogwoods, maples, boxwoods, and things like that. And so, I say something to my wife today. I says, man, where in the world did I get this desire to grow and to raise animals and manage a farm and pastures and everything? And I share this story all the time. It's no coincidence. It's just it's a part of me. It's in my blood, and it's been handed down for generations from my aunts and uncles. And I was born in Clark County, Alabama, and they were born and raised in Alabama, and subsistence living, it was the way of life. And so when I interact with them, they parted that knowledge into me and of my brothers and sisters. I think I was the one that heeded to their wealth of knowledge and sharing. I can also remember a story of my aunt. We didn't go off to the hospital unless we absolutely have to. I remember having a gash in my head, and my aunt would say, "Go get the needle and some thread," and she sewed me up. We didn't go to the hospital to get stitches. She took care of us, did the stitching for us.
Oh my goodness! Now I gotta ask this question. What is one of the best tools you ever farmed while y'all was farming?
Yeah, it's a good one. Your hose, and then your garden rakes. We would have to fashion our own handles. We didn't go once we break it, or we would have to do our own, get us a branch or something and do our own handles and stuff like that. So those sort of things. And then if you break them, you got to figure out how to fix them. And you couldn't, like the sickle. Now that you talk about the sickle, man, we would wear a sickle out. And but we didn't have the fluidness to buy another sickle once you tear it up or something like that. We just had to make do, man. So those sort of things come to mind, and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
I do want to ask this only because it's just a little off the beaten path. Do you remember how we met?
I do. I don't know if you ever, but we used to have a big old guard dog, man. And at the time, we were getting 25 pounds of dog food and 50-pound bags of cracked corn and whole corn. And so we was off up in the Tractor Supply. And I don't know if I approached you or not, but I said,
do you remember which one? You remember which one?
Yeah, the one off of Dixie Highway, I think. Is that the one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
the one past Dixie Highway. All the way down by the Gene Snyder. Yep.
Yes. Now that's kind of my go-to Tractor Supply, and that one and the one in Breckenridge County in Hardsburg. That's the one I like to go to most of the time, and get my cracked corn and whole corn. I get my deer corn too. It's time for me to get my deer corn and set my corn out for my deer. I'm gonna can me a deer this year as well. I canned a deer last year, so I'm gonna try to get me another one this year. I know I'm off subject, but
no, it's all right. So we was at the Tractor Supply, and you was looking for feed, and you seen me messing with the baby chicks in there, and then you started.
I think I just reached out to you, man. It was really good to see another young man out there doing this sort of work, and somebody that looked like me and I could have the conversation with. And so it was really refreshing to be able to do that. And I don't know how long ago that's been, Vaughn, but here we are now.
It was either 2016 or 2017. I got to look back in the text messages. But and yes, I do have text messages from back that far. But you just came to me and you was just like, man, what you doing with them chickens? And I was just like, what?
Is that how I did it? Okay. I think you characterized me pretty good. Yeah, that's probably. I wouldn't put that past me.
You did it, and I was just kind of like, wait, what? I'm kind of fresh into having the bird stuff like that. I think I was maybe at that point in time about three years into having chicks, and I still didn't know what I was doing at that point, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy some. And roughly around that same time, I had just got a rooster, my first rooster.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I only got a rooster. I get the rooster, and the rest is history. Where we at now? But I was there shopping and looking at baby chicks and baby ducks, and then we started talking about sheep. So to bring that up, for me to bring that up, I wanted to ask you, so now what are you doing with the sheep?
Yeah, I'm glad that you kind of showed, I was going to maybe piggyback off of that, show some of your vulnerability because, I've been raising sheep now for 5 or so years, and I've learned a lot. I had some ups and downs over the years. And when I had a huge herd when I first started, and I almost started talking about building the farm when we started our interview at the beginning, but I think maybe this would be a good time to kind of interject. But at the beginning, I got out ahead of the process. I bought a huge herd, and I had to end up selling most of the herd because I didn't have pasture. So I made a lot of mistakes over the years in doing this and raising my sheep.
Did you know that CFA is a nonprofit organization that supports family farms, equity work, food access, and policy work across Kentucky? If you're interested in supporting any of this work, please go to cfaky.org and go to our donate tab in order to donate or become a member today. We really appreciate any and all help that we get, and it goes back to helping both farmers and consumers across the Bluegrass State. For more information, go to www.cfaky.org. Once again, that's www.cfaky.org. Thank you. And now back to our show.
Before we had left, you had mentioned something about the sheep. Please continue.
I think that it's important that your audience, and important for me to kind of share the whole story and the full experience of raising animals, and I like to think I'm at a manageable place in my career or in my experience with animals, but there were a time when I wasn't doing too good at managing sheep, and I can remember when I first started, I bought a big old herd and I think about 20 sheep, and lo and behold, I end up selling most of the herd because I didn't have enough healthy pasture. Healthy pasture is when you have a good combination of grass. I use stuff like orchard grass, clover, alfalfa, rye, fescue. Most of my pastures is orchard grass, clover, and fescue. When I first started, the pH on the property was just low. The farm had not been taken care of. It was full of broom sage, and a lot of bushes and a lot of trees had overgrown. And I didn't really know much about that. But in the last so many years, the last 3 or more years, I really tightened up and buttoned the hatches and really got at putting together some good pastures. And I put some lime on it. I seeded it and all those sort of things. And now I'm at a place now I want to build my herd back up. And I want to do a number of things with my herd. I want to be able to do some direct marketing with folks via the internet. I also want to be able to sell my meat through CSAs and online Karma store. So I'm really excited, and I don't think I've had a chance to talk about this yet, but I'm really excited because I'm in a transitioning period, organic transitioning period for my mixed vegetables and my pastures. So what that means is in the next year or two, the pastures in which my sheep are eating on, they will be certified organic. So any lambs that I have after they're certified, these animals will be considered organic sheep. So I'm really excited and looking forward to that and having that extra edge in the marketing process of my value-added products.
Can I ask this question? What makes it organic? Is it the way that they eat? Is it how you put stuff in the ground? What is it that makes it organic?
Yeah, good question. I think a lot goes into organic. A lot of folks can say you really can't tell a difference, but for me, you're going to hear from someone who believes in it, and to me, you can. Organic means that you engage in practices that is sustainable and renewable. What does that mean? I put things into the soil. I put things into the land that builds it up and allows it to enrich itself with natural, non-chemical, organic matter. And so when you do that, and also you start with seed that is not that has not undergone any sort of chemical or hormones or anything like that. So then a couple of things that's going to happen. So you're going to have organic seed. You're going to have soil that is strictly soil can be enriched by non-chemical treated lime. You can have soil that's been composted, and compost can be made up of a number of things. It could be wood chips, it could be leaves, it could be carbon matter as vegetables discarded from the garden. Also, compost or manure can be made up of sheep manure, horse manure, cow manure. And so then eventually what happens on your farm, it becomes a closed loop. You won't need anything outside that system to be able to enrich the soil, increase the fertilization of your vegetables and your pastures. And then so in all of that, there is research out there where you can take an organically grown vegetable and then put it under scrutiny, and you get more percentage of value vitamins from the organic vegetable than the non-organic vegetable. There's data to support the fact that a organic vegetable and one that goes under scrutiny, there's more percentage of vitamins in the organic versus the non-organic vegetables. I'm one of my CSA customers. When he had some of our carrots, he says, "I want to let you know that when you brought me some carrots this week, I had carrots from the store. And right there, I bit into both of those carrots. And the one that you brought from your farm, grown organically, was the best tasting carrot I've ever had." So now then you can read it in the literature, but I got a actual verbal confirmation from one of my CSA subscribers.
Farmers Market Support Program Services. Did you know that a program like this exists in the state of Kentucky? If your market has been around for a while, or maybe you are a new and existing market, we offer marketing development. We also offer business development. We want to offer programs as such like capital support to support your market managers. There's a cost share program. We can establish your market with the SNAP EBT program. And lastly, we provide networking. For more information, please contact us at cfaky.org/FMSP. Again, that is cfaky.org/FMSP.
You mentioned about all the different things, all the different grasses that you have out there that the sheep. What is it like managing, the parasites and the things like that on the ground? How is that?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad I can speak to it today, but I was not able to speak to it just a short time ago. But a lot of combinations. So parasites can exist anywhere from 5 to 21 days. So that's one thing one want to know. Another thing, parasites exist on the blade of the grass at certain lengths of the grass. So when a blade of the grass reaches about 11, 12 inches, you get more parasites on the grass. So you can imagine higher up it grows, more parasites. So you can imagine taller grass, more parasites. So you got two things you have to manage. You have to manage your animals being on the pasture or your grazing land for a short period of time. And then you have to manage the height of it. Early on, I used to think that it would be beneficial to leave the animals on there and let them eat the grass down. Visually you'll get the grass managed and cut and mowed down, but then again, you're putting them out there on tall grass and you're subjecting them to more parasites because of the length of the grass. So now, where I was hopeful that I would just be able to put the animals out and they'll take care of it. So now I have to pull the animals off in the optimal spot, so that I can guard against the parasites. So sometimes that means that the height of the grass, I have to pull them off and then come back behind it and bush hog it. And then move them and rotate them on. I'm a much better rotating than I used to. And so rotation and managing the height of the grass is very important as well.
Now, what about the horses and any of the other animals that you have on the farm? What do they deal with?
The horses are similar. You have to worry about parasite controls with them as well, but more so with the sheep. Sheep are more susceptible to parasites than my horses are. I've had to manage some parasites with my horses, but my horses is part of the recreational part of the farm, and it's not all work. We do have fun. We do ride and enjoy the horses as well. And that was part of one of our commitments to ourselves when we purchased this land, is that it will be recreational, that we'll be able to ride horses, fish, and that we'll be able to invite family out to be able to enjoy the farm as well. And that we'll be able to, our grandchildren will be able to enjoy the farm, and that we'll be able to have something passed down to them. And at the same token, we can introduce them to subsistence living as well. We can show them so that they can get from I like to characterize it this way. When you come to the farm, from the city to the farm, in the city, everything is automatic. If you feel threatened, you can call 911. When you walk into the room, you just hit the light switch. When you have to go and do number one, you just go do number one. But when you go to the farm, you go from the conscious to the subconscious. You have to think about things, and you like, okay, where did the fish come from? Where do we do with where did the vegetables come from? The vegetables come from here. And then your senses, when you get out to the farm, your senses, like you're more aware of a threat. I think it's fight or flight. You're more aware of those sort of things when you come to the farm. Then all of a sudden your hearing becomes, you can have a heightened sense of hearing, heightened sense of smell. And then when you hear something, that now you can't call 911. You got to figure out what's the source of that. And then you got to make certain that you're in a safe and neat place. So I don't know, a lot of good stuff. I love being out on the farm.
For sure. Now, I know you mentioned this earlier. Your love for agriculture started with family members, the aunties, the sisters of your mother. Talk a little bit about that and how that into the man you are with Nob Hill Farm.
Yeah, and thanks for that, because I think it's really important that I pay homage to them, because later on at 60 years old, I like, why am I the one doing this farming? Well, growing up, I had the pleasure of being raised by mostly women. My grandmother had 13 children, and 10 of them were women and 3 were guys. And then of the 3, only one of those could have done some work. But listen, folks say that I wasn't born then, so it really doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, because along the way, engaging and talking with my aunties, they parted with their wisdom. And I'm the one that I think picked up on it and was I'm a testimony to the way of life that they've lived in subsistence living. For example, my aunts, 2 of my aunties were hunters. I talked to my cousin just the other day. Her mother and another one of them, they would go out and hunt. They would go out and hunt for squirrels and rabbit. And one of my aunties would always have a cow, and she would be the source of butter for our small community. And then just a remarkable bunch of women, and the way they would talk and get around and talk and cook. You know, I was smitten by their cooking as well. They would always can. I can remember on a couple occasions, not too many occasions, where we would get out back and then we'd get a mess of chickens and we would do our chicken cleaning thing and can chicken. And so it's just a remarkable experience that I had the pleasure of interacting with, and now being able to express that in my experiencing, my wife and I experiencing the land.
So now, with the farm that you guys have, what are some of the practices that you brought over to this new farm that you got from back there?
Well, I don't think that's a good one. Thank you for asking that. I don't think it's much of a stretch, because, with modern technology, mods didn't have much, it's a lot of hands-on sort of stuff. And so, I think that's kind of in line with organic farming. We don't have no chemicals or nothing like that. We didn't have the luxury to go out and buy 50-pound bags of fertilizer. We just didn't have it. And so, with my brothers and sisters, I mean, we weeded the garden year round. We had to go out back and weed. And so I think that subsistence way of living is playing its way out with me and my farming practices now. We like we like putting down mulch, hay as mulch to help stand back the grass. The grass will still come through, but it still helps in that process. And so I don't know. I think it's really helped me move into this organic way of gardening, organic way of living.
Kentucky Double Dollars, a program of Community Farm Alliance supporting Kentucky farmers and families with over $300,000 in nutrition benefits matched in 2021. For more information or to find a location near you, visit www.kentuckydoubledollars.org.
Okay, we are back again from another break. And Keith, one of the things that we were talking about off camera was history of Keith McKenzie and how you started with your aunts and where you learned from your aunts. But speak a little bit about Clark County, Alabama, and what it was like, and how that molded your mind around the wealth gap.
Clark County, Alabama is north of Mobile, Alabama. It's one county. You got Mobile, a county, and then Clark County. So it is 43 miles north of Mobile, Alabama.
Deep South.
Yes. It can't get any southern than that. But 2 counties above Clark County is what is known as historical Black Belt. And that means across one side of the state to the other, a couple counties north of that, is the Black Belt. And the Black Belt was the heart of cotton country in the United States. It historically is seen as the capital of the cotton machine in the United States. And from that, at Black Belt, came a lot of the we call it the civil rights work as well. A lot of folks don't know that. A lot of that work, Montgomery and all that sort of stuff, come out of that belt right there. And so I say that because it puts things in the context where my aunts and where I was born at, just south of that, so a lot of our agency has to do with going up north and doing cotton work, and then south of that would be Mobile with shipping. So in between of that, lumber was a lot of what we did, and then on side of that, you did your own homesteading and subsistence living. You hewed out a livelihood for that, and so then when I talk about that, it just pains me to think about that, because I don't want to get into the details with that along this, but it just pains me to think about that, because my family, my aunts and all of those folks did not pass huge swaths or chunks of land from that generation to the next generation. There's a town that we grew up in and lived in, which was Grove Hill in Clark County, Alabama. Jackson, Alabama, which is in Clark County, is kind of like the seat, but Grove Hill is more rural and out there. And then, and even now, they don't give up any land.
What does that mean?
That you can't buy land in Grove Hill, and nobody's giving up any land. And so then I say that, and what that just pains me and put it into perspective here is that you're talking about generational gap. One of the hallmarks about passing wealth from one generation to the next is land.
Right.
And then go a step further, is a home or house from one generation to the next. And our ancestors, due to the cultural and political and landscape of our country, we were just we're not giving a fair shake in that process. And so I think that's one of the things that, as a farmer,
Hold on, can I stop that really quick?
Yeah, you can.
This question, because I had the interview with somebody else, and they mentioned not having their boots, and it's like, people say pull yourself up from the bootstrap, and and when she mentioned not having land's not being passed over, how did the land not get passed over? How did it not pass down?
Well, a lot of cliches, a lot of one-liners. Pull yourself up by the bootstrap. If you work hard like I do, then you can do anything in America. I don't have to go far to see now that folks looking out on the horizon and see that in the not so far distant future that there will be more minorities in this country than blacks and minorities in the country than not. And so now all of a sudden, when they talk about pull yourself up by the bootstrap and work hard, no longer has the same zeal. Now, when it's applying to somebody else, they want to hold you to it, because my mother worked hard her entire life. And when the Lord called her home, she was not called. She didn't leave much behind to pass on to the next generation. So then when you talk about pull yourself up by the bootstrap, so for example, in our country's history, when there was the emancipation, and then when people started settling this country, when folks was taking care of the land, they what they want to call a socialism. They was given opportunities to do land grants. They was given an opportunity to acquire land, and they were, given access to resources that weren't ordinarily accessible for others. So socialism run amok. Then you talked about you're talking about the people of color being free, and then you talked about, when folks was settling all this land,
right?
What they had resources. They gave them resources to make sure that the land would stay profitable and productive. They gave them support, such as the county extension agents. And then when you freed tens of thousands, if not millions, of people of color, they didn't give them access to nothing. They didn't provide them with any resources at all to help deal with being free for the first time. And so to me, I think that's quite disingenuous of folks to tell somebody to pull themselves up by the bootstrap when you intentionally underserve them and intentionally build a country off of their back. And then when you free them, tell them to go fend for yourself. And then when you then want to increase your wealth and increase and maintain your property, all the resources at your disposal is made readily available. So I think it's quite disingenuous for folks to say that and hold people to that when you're talking about bootstraps. And I think in a lot of cases, we don't have bootstraps. And then what are bootstraps? Bootstraps are resources. Historically, we just don't have them.
I know that's speaking on history, but as of lately, within X amount of years of you having your farm, have you seen the extension agents and county service people reach out and help what was going on or what's going on with Nob Hill Farm?
People say, well, yeah, I've had the opportunity to benefit from Kentucky State University and the third Thursdays of the month. And I think it's an outstanding program, ran by people that look like me and led by them, and just an awesome thing, an experience. And I just love it. But then there's a lot of other resources and things that if you're not in the loop and in the know, you just miss out. And I listen, when you have centuries, years of being at a disadvantage, what does that mean? When you are having to work and don't get paid for your labor and people's wealth is increased, you're at a disadvantage. Then when there's laws that are designed to capture you and arrest you early on in our country's history, and then they'll put you to work, that's a disadvantage. Then when your voting right is, even today, is run amok, that's at a disadvantage. So here's what I think today, that when our agricultural brothers and sisters, when they develop new programs, I think, like they did with land grants, I think like they did when they settled land, that the government have to intentionally put in infrastructure, put more money into programs that will signal to people of color that they are co-partners in this process versus overseen and managed by gatekeepers. So that it will allow people of color to thrive and really believe in the resources that the government makes available for them, that it really is of them and about us and from us versus a gatekeeper. So I'm not quite sure if I really answered your questions or not. And dude, this happened for hundreds of years, and we're not getting out of this anytime soon. But the fact of the matter is, we just got to keep on pushing. We just got to keep on doing what we can. And one of the things I like to say is that I want to make sure that I can pass on land to the next generation. I want to teach my grandchildren, my children, a love for subsistence living. I'm going to teach my family about all that sort of stuff, so that if they want to, there's another way of life that they can engage in and pass it on to the next one. And also, we're growing small stands of trees as well, so that I'll never harvest them, and my grandchildren will be able to harvest them.
Well, you also know that this is the Blackberry series, and every time I ask this question, I hope for good answers. Keith, farm is Nob Hill Farm. What berry best represents Nob Hill Farm? And hey, look, I gotta ask the question, man. This is what this question is all about. What berry best represents your farm and tells the story of what Nob Hill is?
Hey, yeah, I know it's gonna be cliche, and you may not like my answer, but listen, we're transitioning to becoming organic mixed vegetable farm, and one of the hallmarks of that is for my wife and I, a variety of strawberries that we love the pieces, and that's Chandler and Shalimar strawberries. Okay. And so they're not these huge tasteless strawberries, and they're not the small kind of a fingernail size strawberries. They just the right size strawberries, and they present quite well when you're selling those at the farmer's market. Now, granted, we're organic, and so you can buy strawberries at the store and so on and so forth, but it's just something about getting it directly from the farm.
Now, if the strawberry and everything else that you say represent you guys well, when you guys gonna start allowing people to come out and pick strawberries?
Well, we have a plot that we'll have our hands full this year, but it's not quite big enough to allow folks to come out. So what we're going to do this fall, we're going to break ground and probably do and break ground that will accommodate about 3. We're not quite sure if we want to do 4 rows, 4 100-foot rows, so that next fall we can put into rotation strawberries. And then I think then we'll be able to have something where we can allow folks to come out.
All right. Now, I know I covered a lot, and we come to almost to the end of the podcast. Is there anything that you want to tell the listening audience or viewing audience about Nob Hill Farm or yourself?
No, I think it's I think you have to have a love for it, and I think it has to be a way of life, and it has to be about you, and it's just something about the farm. It's just a part of who I am, and I just I don't want to sound too cheesy, but it's work, and a lot of folks run the other way when you use that 4-letter word, but it's just a way of life that I just love. I can remember putting that 30 acres into fencing, and I had to put posts in all 30 acres of that, fencing that in, and I love that. And I put up a fence this year, a 250 feet fence, 8-foot centers, wooden post and wooden fence, and I dug every one of those holes. There's 35 holes, and I just something about that, being one with nature and being out there doing that sort of stuff. I just love the pieces.
Man, that's it. Keith McKenzie, Nob Hill Farm, and always real change comes from the ground up. But until next time, peace.